Opponents of same-sex marriage have charged that one activist judge has not only overturned the law, but overridden the will of the people. Wisconsin voters approved the constitutional amendment banning same-sex marriage in Wisconsin by a nearly 60-40 margin back in 2006. Jelaine Appling of Wisconsin Family Action led the charge for the marriage amendment. Her organization has also sued the state to stop implementation of the domestic partner registry. And Jelaine Appling joins us now on Up Front. It's good to have you back on the program.
Thank you, Mike. Good to be here.
Why are you so convinced that an end to the marriage ban in Wisconsin would be bad for the state?
Well, you know, you said it well in the opening comments. First of all, we do believe that it's inappropriate for one judge, a federal judge at that, to trump the will of the people of the state of Wisconsin. There is nothing that the Supreme Court has said, the U.S. Supreme Court has said, that gives really that kind of authority to the federal judiciary to say that the states can't determine for themselves. So I'm concerned about this on several levels. I'm concerned about what this means for the rule of law in our state. And I'm very concerned about what this means to the institution of marriage.
So it's not just a legal, for your organization, it's not just a legal issue, it's something more than that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know, we put the amendment in place because we feared exactly what happened last Friday. We feared that a judge would be able to, at the state level, go over the will of the people and make marriage something that's never been before in our state. And so that was the reason for the amendment back in 2006. And against all the naysayers, the prevaricators, everything, we won. Marriage won that day. And marriage won, Mike, because people in this state fundamentally understand that, number one, marriage is a foundational societal institution providing stability for our state and our culture, but primarily because they understood that children need both a mother and a father, and that when you change the definition of marriage to be inclusive of same-sex couples, you have automatically said they don't need either a father or a mother. And I would ask, which one don't they need?
Would you concede, though, that public attitudes have changed greatly on this since 2006? I mean, most polls you see now have more than 50% of the population saying, we believe that gay couples should be allowed to marry in Wisconsin.
You know, I would agree that the people who are determined to change the definition of marriage in our state and across this country have been extremely effective in their messaging, and because they get into the media, they get into our public schools, they get into all the places where the people are, where they're the most sensitive and the most vulnerable to these messages. What's interesting to me is if these polls are right, if they're right, why didn't the people who want to redefine marriage in our state, for all of us, why didn't they do what we did to protect marriage? Why did they circumvent the people and go to the federal court rather than going through the constitutionally provided process of putting it to the people through 2 legislative sessions and let the legislature vote on it and let the people vote on it? If those polls are right, why did they fear that? Why did they short-circuit that and just basically trump the will of the people by going to a federal court?
You have used the word profound to describe what you think the fallout from a change in state law would be. What do you mean by profound?
Well, you know, and I've said this before in public venues. When I woke up Saturday morning, last Saturday after the judge's ruling, I woke up to a fabulously beautiful Wisconsin summer Saturday. The sky hadn't fallen, nothing had, you know, changed because of that. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be both short-term and long-term effects should this ruling stand. For instance, in Massachusetts, right after, and Massachusetts set the precedent, okay, their Supreme Judiciary, by judicial fiat, gave the people a change of marriage there. Right after that, the schools, and parents were alarmed, but they were told that schools now have to treat heterosexual relationships and marriage exactly this, or homosexual relationships and marriage exactly like they treat heterosexual ones. So they're normalizing and very much accepting that particular lifestyle, that particular choice of marriage. And that to me is not healthy. That is not where I want to see our schools go. Secondly, Christian adoption agencies, for instance, that only place children in mom and dad homes, married mom and dad homes, they've been forced to shut down in various places in the country, including Massachusetts and Illinois, because they refused to sacrifice their religious beliefs and what they believe is in the best interest of children to satisfy this new definition of marriage.
Let me ask you about the politics of this. Republican lawmakers have had very little to say about this. The governor was asked about it the other day, said he didn't think his opinion was really relevant on the subject. You've criticized him. You said that Republican lawmakers should be out there talking about this because this is what the base believes, that marriage is between a man and a woman. Why aren't they talking about it?
Well, the base does believe this. I mean, I've seen polls coming out of the National FRC, Family Research Council, and others have published polls recently that show that the Republican base across the country is very, very supportive of keeping marriage between one man and one woman. I mean, the numbers are 80 and up. 80% and up. And so it does somewhat perplex me why the Republicans in our state are so loath to come out and say anything. I mean, at a minimum, I would expect them to come out on this particular ruling and say, why do we let a federal judge trump the will of the people of this state and trump the legislative work we did back in 2005 and 6? But you know what? They speak for themselves, or don't speak for themselves. I don't speak for them, and I'm not in a position to say why they are or why they aren't willing to speak up on this.
Are you disappointed?
I am disappointed, but you know what? Politics is a rough and tumble game.
Jelaine Apling is the head of Wisconsin Family Action. It's good to have you back on the program. Appreciate your time today. You bet.
Thank you.
Next, the Tea Party and the lesson from Virginia.